You have now tuned into Insight Sundays, the show that brings you relevant news, youth topics with a new mission and focus for our communities. Here is your host, Adrian Mickens.
What's going on, Indianapolis? And welcome to another edition of Insight Sundays right here on AM 1310, The Light, presented by Harambe Productions. As always, we have to give a shout out to all of our sponsors, which are Andrew J. Brown Academy, Indiana Christian Leadership Conference, or ICLC, Buttons and Bows Hair Salon, Bethesda Temple Southeast Campus, New Vision Lighthouse Ministries, Hair Artistry Indy, Inner Beauty Program Incorporated, New Breed of Youth, Lighthouse Academy Charter School South, Lighthouse Academy Charter School East, Committee of Elect Benjamin for Sheriff 2018, Sam Ash Music Store, Off the Hook Fish and More, Soul Cycle, and Beach Grove Bible Church. All right, Indianapolis, as always, we have another spectacular show for you guys in the house today. This one here is directly affects Indianapolis, Indiana, and even more specific, Marion County. We have the elect William Benjamin for 2018 in the house today. And he's going to basically share with you all why you guys should elect him in the year of 2018. We're going to get into his credentials, all of his years of service in law enforcement, all that good stuff far and few in between. So, Mr. Benjamin, I'm just going to start off. Why did you want to get in law enforcement in the first place?
I've always been very interested in where I lived in a couple of places where I went to college. I was in the Marine Corps. And then raised here in Indianapolis. And actually, I was just rolling down the street one day with my wife, and we heard the commercial that IMPD was hiring, and they needed qualified officers. And they were seeking minority officers for diversity. And so I applied in 1983 and was hired on in 84. So,
before I was born.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Lots of years of service.
Yeah.
All right. So, let me ask you this question here. I know you've been in the force here, obviously, for quite some time, over 30 years. I'll be 30 this year. So that's been over 30 years that you've been part of the law enforcement area or executive branch and all the good stuff like that. With the Indianapolis homicide rates, and obviously, over the years, it's risen. Obviously, it's to a number where it is astronomical, and hopefully we don't ever get to the number that the Chicago Police Department has to deal with, but Indianapolis is definitely on that rise. What do you see if you get in office on how to, I hate to say decrease because we want to eliminate it, but everything doesn't just change overnight. So what is your plan to kind of decrease that, and what have you done over the years?
First, I'll say one murder is just too many.
Yes, absolutely.
My plan when I was the deputy chief of police was to try to reduce violent crime to a number under triple digits. So we were always seeking anything under 100 in my years at IMPD, my last 5 years there. Here we have a situation where we've broken 2 murder records in the last 2 years.
I believe it.
And with the rate that crime has risen and the violent July that we're experiencing now, we're on pace to break another record. Here you have 2 major agencies that are 100 yards apart. My old agency, IMPD, and the Marion County Sheriff's Office, which used to be the Marion County Sheriff's Department. My plan is to do more as the sheriff to assist and aid IMPD in an effort to reduce violent crime and homicides. We were good at it in 2008, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I can bring the same experience 100 yards away, working with old teammates to reduce this violent spike that we're having.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say, I got to take those words back, spike. It's not a spike anymore. We've had 2 years of climbing in astronomical numbers of murder, and here we are, third year. So there's a real problem with violence here in the city. Where the Sheriff's Department has about 1,000 employees, if we can get trained up 200 to 300 deputies to help assist in any way possible violence in our city, it will curb and reduce, and you'll start to see numbers drop because of manpower, strategic plans, effort, and great leadership.
Yeah.
So with that, we live in this county, and I know a little bit about you. I know you're getting married. You and your loved ones. I and my loved ones, the citizens of the county, they deserve the very best to live in this county. And
Absolutely.
First is safety.
Yes.
You can't do anything without being safe. So it drove me with the violence in May, June, July. It drove me to get off the sidelines and get back in this and do something. And that's why I'm running.
All right. And I'm glad that you mentioned that too as well, you know, speaking about the young generation. What would you say your plan and your mission is to reach out to the new millennial generation of leaders who are getting ready to come up? You know, we are now experiencing something completely different in our time, specifically in our time. Let me rephrase that, not different, but we are experiencing a deja vu situation in our time where the millennials have a certain mentality when it comes to law enforcement, the executive branch, all this good stuff like that. So what is your plan to reach out to the youth? Was it something different within the 90s and early 2000s that maybe we should bring back nostalgia, community outreaches, or different things like that? What do you see for the youth to reconnect?
You know, I've got two millennials in my family, my daughters. They're of that age group. What we did back in the day, sometimes old plans, old strategies worked back in the day, and they can still work now.
Correct.
Your age group does not really grasp community policing as I know it. But if you really think about law enforcement, back in the day, we knew everybody and everybody knew us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Which generated trust.
Yes.
And we use the word now transparency. Leaders of agencies have to be transparent. That's what millennials want. They don't want what I call the fluff and stuff.
Yeah.
They want the truth, and they want it now, and they want it quickly. They have little patience. And really, you know, some of the older folks are the same way now because law enforcement agencies across the nation, not ours. When I say ours, I'm talking about Marion County and IMPD. We've seen where evidence has been hidden from citizens from other agencies across the nation. With the younger group, they want to know now, they want to know quickly, and they want justice quickly. They want the truth quickly.
Oh, yes.
And with body cams, you know, you have to have them on. You have to have them on and working. You have to have a great PIO, a public information officer, who can communicate to all ages, especially the millennials, because they're going to be around longer because they're younger. You have to have great investigators to go out there and get the information, get the answers, and get it properly back to me and others who are on the executive staff. That way we can give our message out to the community. Here's what's happening. Here's what's going on. Here's what we can reveal. Here's what we can reveal without tainting the case. Sometimes you can reveal too much and taint your own case.
Yeah.
Compromise the information that you have and lose your case on a suspect. More importantly, overall, with anyone, I don't care what age group they are, under my command in the past years, I always told the truth and I got it out quickly, and I got out the information that the public needed. That also comes with working with the community, not just with cameras on. When the camera's not there, are you working?
Absolutely.
And I was always around when the cameras were not working.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned too as well about the youth and community-orientated stuff, because I think that it is a lost art that should come back. You know, some things do work in the past that can't work today, but some things in the past can work today. And I don't think that a lot of millennials, you know, who are of age now, who are homeowners and different things like that, and have their own condominiums and stuff, they don't take the time to visit or see who lives around them. And it's not necessarily being nosy. It's just building a community base. You know, you can kind of police yourself before situations or things escalate, much like what they do in these neighborhoods now. I mean, I can't even tell you the situation that happened with the shooting at the funeral. Like that just completely amazed me. Like that is like something completely like you would see in a movie, and it's real life now. You know, what would truly, I don't even want to like heavily talk about it because, you know, I don't know all the facts and information about it, but what would truly make somebody want to do something like that? I mean, from the cases that you dealt with, what triggers somebody to want to do something like that?
And this morning I was at Light of the World Christian Church, and Dr. Hampton mentioned it, and he hit the nail on the head. A lot of our citizens think that it's drugs that drive violence. No, it's respect. It's truly respect. Everyone wants respect. And as soon as that disrespect button is pushed, back in the day, we talked it out. Maybe we fisticuffed it out. Now you shoot it out. And, it was a national case. The shooting of a funeral procession, getting ready to go into
madness,
the cemetery to bury a loved one, and all of a sudden the procession is shot up. It drew national attention, and that case is still not solved.
And she was young. The funeral was a young funeral. I think it was a young lady. I think probably close to my age, maybe 28, 27. I believe she was young.
She was a young one that somehow, and I don't know the case forward and backwards like I did when I was deputy chief, but somehow got caught up in violence. I don't know the case at all. However, the family, friends, and loved ones could not bury a loved one in a respectful manner. Thus, you know, we now have a problem with that because there's always retaliation. I've always said, Adrian, that when these crimes that are committed are major like this, high profile, you solve them quickly to prevent retaliation. And I'm hoping that IMPD and other agencies can solve this one quickly and get those folks responsible for that crime off the streets.
Yeah. Absolutely, 100%. So once again, everybody, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're going to take a quick commercial break. As always, you guys can tune in with us on Facebook Live at Insight Sundays. Once again, that's Facebook Live, Insight Sundays, Twitter, Snapchat, or Instagram. We will check you guys out here in just a second. We'll be back from break.
Welcome back, Indianapolis, to Insight Sundays right here on AM 1310 The Light. We're going to pick right back up with our show this afternoon. We have elect William Benjamin in the house today, running for sheriff of 2018. Once again, that is running for sheriff 2018 in the house today, y'all. So again, we're going to finish up our questions here so that you guys can get a better understanding of who William Benjamin is and why he would be a great servant for you all who can really help out here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Mr. Benjamin, your years in the law enforcement agency, how has it been working with state and local officials? Do you feel like you'll be able to really, truly get down and dirty and get some things done within the city of Indianapolis and Marion County?
Absolutely. I mean, even currently right now, the Sheriff's Department has a good working relationship with federal, state, and local authorities. The Sheriff's Department currently right now handles transportation for the federal agencies, prisoners. They handle IMPD prisoners and Lawrence Police Department prisoners, Speedway prisoners. So that relationship is there. You always have to communicate and talk. Even when I was deputy chief, before I retired from IMPD, I worked with the DEA, Secret Service, the FBI, ICE, and had a great working relationship with all those federal agencies, so ATF. So we plan to do the same thing again once I get in office.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I've seen, this is kind of on a lighter note, I've seen a photograph of you with our 44th president, Barack Obama at the time. How was that experience meeting our 44th president, Barack Obama?
At the time the president was coming into Indianapolis, Actually, he spoke at a graduation, Notre Dame's graduation.
Oh, okay.
Then he flew down to Indianapolis to speak to some elected officials down here.
Mm-hmm.
I was the acting chief at the time.
Mm.
Our current chief then was Mike Spears, who was out of town. So I was the current acting chief and responsible for getting our president in here safely and getting those wheels up safely so he could go on to his next destination. And it was probably one of the top highlights of my career to meet our president here, and I'm the acting chief of the city. So it was a great day.
Definitely an awesome accolade there. Next question, because I know that my generation would probably kill me if I do not ask you this question. And it's not that tough, but it is a serious question that a lot of millennials do have. What are some key factors during police training? And why do so many police officers, once training is done, do not stick to those principles of training?
Now, that's your question.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a key factor is understanding that the community in which we live in have so many different races, so many different beliefs,
mm-hmm.
so many different cultures, and an officer at any time can be summoned to a situation where you may have to deal with someone who possibly doesn't think like you, doesn't worship like you, might not even like you. And you have to be able to know how to handle that. I always preach the word poise and respect.
Yes.
If you had poise under pressure and respect those who you are dealing with at the time, you could be working for them or actually trying to pursue them to make an arrest. And I've made a ton of arrests trying to leave the suspect with some dignity along the way, though I had to make that arrest.
It makes a world of a difference.
It does. But there are, like in all jobs, somewhat what I call underperformers that just don't perform well. And we've known of some situations where officers have failed to treat a citizen correctly, even to the point of death, where they took another person's life and then were later charged with the crime of murder. So I think the sensitivity training, some call it cultural awareness training, is probably the most misunderstood piece of training, even for officers and instructors.
Mm-hmm.
If I look at another person and feel like this is a person that needs my help, this is a citizen, I don't care who they are, what they look like, or who they love, what they think about, I'll probably go a long way in law enforcement and gain the respect of the community. But if I take my own personal beliefs and incorporate them into the negative side of what I'm doing, you're not going to be known as a polished police officer, and you'll probably fail.
Which that question is going to lead me right into this one right here, because obviously we have a lot of officers, whether they are good officers or what they call quote unquote crooked or bad officers, is our jailing system. Even for me and many others, we know that jail has now become a big economic system for larger corporations. What is your plan to not only, again, I would like to eliminate it, but what is your plan to decrease and also improvements that are already in the jailing system that are just completely either unsanitary or just anything that is just not right about the jailing system?
First and foremost, you want to run a humane jailing system. They are in jail for a reason. And more importantly than that, they're someone's loved one. And so they're going to be treated with respect and dignity. It's going to be humane. One of the things that bother me the most is the mental illness some of those inmates have inside the jail. I'm going to make sure they get full wraparound mental illness service. If I have to vet the mental illness contractors myself to see who best gives us the best treatment for our inmates. There's some folks that are in jail right now that shouldn't be in jail because they are mentally ill. The largest mental illness facility in the state is the Marion County Jail. The largest mental illness facility in the nation are Dade County Jail, Cook County Jail, and Los Angeles County Jail. A lot of people don't understand that. Some of those folks in jail possibly need to be ID'd, what we call immediate detention, so they can be assessed, get the medical treatment that they need, the medication that they need, and go on with their lives and stay with their doctors and not be in jail. So that's quite disturbing to me. As far as jail itself, if we reduce crime, reduce murders, you'll have less beds because there'll be less people to lock up. Though we're dealing with building a new justice center, you never build a new jail with less beds. Let's just say that, first of all. You never do that.
100%.
Some people disagree with that, but you never do that because our county is growing. We're almost 1 million people right now. When I started in the 80s, we were hovering somewhere around 600,000. Now we're closing in on 1 million people in our county. So you never build any new facility that can't handle the population that you have to serve. I don't like that, but that's common sense when it comes to law enforcement. We currently now are being able to house 2,500 inmates in jail, but we're also shipping other inmates because of overcrowding to 10 other locations, to include Elkhart County and a couple of places in Kentucky, where the citizens, the taxpayers, pay $40 a day. Those days rack up for the number of inmates that we have that are out of our county. We can't even house the people that we are arresting right now. So it's causing an extra expense for others to take care of those inmates before they are called back for court. That's got to stop. That's an expense that can be eliminated by reduction in crime, reduction in murders, community policing, and an understanding of mental illness.
Gotcha. All right. So, Indianapolis, as always, we are here for a good time and always not for a long time. I hope that this show was definitely informational for you. And more than that, to make sure that you guys get out and vote. Mr. Benjamin, if anybody would like to find you and get in contact with you to learn how to register so they can get to the primaries May of 2018, how do they get in contact with you?
Absolutely. BillBenjaminForSheriff.com. My number's on there. We can communicate. I'm on Facebook. I have a Twitter account as well. You can find me very easily.
And again, that's Facebook William Benjamin. Facebook William Benjamin. Check him out online. Make sure you guys are registered to vote. Register to vote. He has my vote. We will check you guys out next week.